Hello. Today I like to make a brief summary of the uploads I did in the last 12 months. I did about 30 uploads of brief talks, and half of them in English and the others in Spanish. I'd like to say something about the last one I made about the inflation in Argentina. I want to point out that the final result of the inflation, we can think about the struggle between capital and labor, the capitalist and labor. So when there is some distortions, crisis, currency crisis, then that struggle is explicit and is through prices. So it's a sort of economic warfare within a given country. And this type of economic warfare is done by prices, because capitalists in a capitalist system, they like to maintain and increase their capital, while labor like to have better standards of living without challenging the legitimacy of the system. Now, this problem was solved in many countries. In Argentina, it's about the last 70 years that suffered this type of struggle, internal struggle. So I will not repeat myself because I said things about this in the last videos. Now, what I did in the last year or so was to try to explain the situation we're living from a sociological point of view, geopolitical point of view, and of course everything is philosophical. Because the bottom line is about life. It's about how people, individual groups, call them nations, call them tribes, will exist and the quality of their existence. So we are in that era of human development. But the problems are very, very old, as far as we can have recorded history. And the groups struggle for the resources. How are they going to live in the ancient times? So they fight one another. And in the very, very ancient times, when they were not settled, what the Germans called the Volkerwanderungen, which is the wandering of the peoples. The Germans have, in their language, are very precise. So they express their precision in all things they do, in everything they produce, for good and sometimes for bad, but they're very efficient people. So we're thinking about history, we're thinking about them when the peoples, different people establish themselves and fight within others. So we are in a situation where we call them now, there were empires, kingdoms. Now we have the last 200 years the nation-state idea. But still we remains in the world kingdoms. And in all parts of the world, in Europe, in Asia, not in America. In America is the nation states. Is a continent there. Well, there are two. This is a continent. Central and South America is a country of nation states. But from the political point of view, we have the same struggles for the resources, for power. And that's what I've been talking about on the present situation of United States, China, and Russia. But the others, smaller countries, they also have problems most of the time with their neighbors. And the problem is how they relate with their neighbors and how they relate within themselves and how they distribute what they produce, and the equality or inequality or their gaps between the ones who have and the ones who have not. And then if we translate this to the world, we have the same problem, and we can see how there are of the 7.3 billion peoples, about between 20%, that's the rule, 20 and 80%, 20% or less than that may have a real good living quality as we can expect as the development of the species. And that's what I've been talking about. And I've been talking about and thinking about the system that established itself in the last 500 years, and the capitalist system that it was commercial system first, and now in the last 200 years the industrial capitalist system, post-industrial capitalist system in some societies. I talk about in very general terms. Now, I will go on with statistics in my future videos and analyze the difference within any given country and the difference between the countries. And luckily we have many statistics by the World Bank, by the United Nations, by the United States. They have a very large amount of statistics where we can read and have a perception, a trend of the present situation. That will be all for today. Thank you.